In January of 2001, the Detroit Lions made a hire the sports press could not stop praising. Joe Falls of the Detroit News wrote that this man had taught him more about football than anyone alive, except maybe John Madden, that he was, quote, the real stuff. The St. Petersburg Times wrote that if the job required heart and knowledge of the game, he'd be a huge success. Peter King liked it. Everybody liked it. The man was Matt Millen. He had never worked in a front office, not one day at any level, anywhere in football. 7 years later, he'd leave Detroit having presided over the worst stretch of football in modern NFL history. This is the story of that remarkably terrible run. Think of it as a warning, a cautionary tale, if your favorite team ever hires a general manager who says he is not qualified for the job. The story begins with the first coach he hired, a 38-year-old who had never been a head coach anywhere and who was never the man Matt Millen actually wanted. The Lions of the 1990s made the playoffs 6 times. Not good, but not a joke. In 2000, they went 9-7 and missed the postseason on a last-second field goal from a Chicago kicker named Paul Ettinger. Remember that name. That kick got Gary Moeller fired and convinced owner William Clay Ford to blow it up. He pulled Matt Millen out of the Fox booth, and Millen's first job was to hire a head coach. He wanted Steve Mariucci, 60 and 43 in San Francisco, a Michigan kid, respected everywhere. But Mariucci was under contract and going nowhere. So Millen hired the next closest thing. He hired Mariucci's offensive coordinator. Marty Mornhinweg was 38, had a Super Bowl ring from coaching Brett Favre, and had been calling San Francisco's plays for 2 years. He had never been a head coach anywhere. Detroit gave him 5 years. At his introduction, he said the goal of the organization was to win Super Bowls. Optimistic words for a team that had won 1 playoff game since 1957. Then Millen went shopping. Corner Todd Light, quarterback Ty Detmer, a pile of retreads. Sports Illustrated's verdict, in print before a single game. Millen impressed no one. Vegas set them at 7.5 wins. Week 1, at Green Bay, the Lions lost by 22. Week 2, against the Browns, Ty Detmer stepped in for Charlie Batch and had an iconic 7-interception game. Perhaps the worst game ever for a quarterback. Week 4, Monday Night Football, the Silverdome, the greatest show on turf. Rams 35, Lions 0. Shutout on national TV in their own building. An outcome so bad they wouldn't appear on Monday Night Football again for the next 10 years. But here's what everyone gets wrong about the 2001 Lions. They weren't bad. Lost by 5, lost by 3, lost by 4, lost by 3. Thanksgiving against Green Bay, lost by 2, lost by 3, lost by 3. 9 straight losses by 8 points or fewer, an NFL record. Their numbers said they should have won 4 games. This wasn't a team getting run out of buildings, it was a team losing by a field goal every Sunday for 3 months. Every Lions fan knows they always find new ways to disappoint you, and this was the year of the never-ending close losses. It kept getting worse. Charlie Batch would fall to 0-9 before he lost his season to shoulder surgery. With Ty Detmer up to 10 interceptions, the Lions turned to Mike McMahon, a rookie quarterback from Rutgers. It wouldn't matter. Week 13, Tampa Bay, 15-12. 0-12. Around mid-season, the Detroit Lions became a recurring bit on The Tonight Show with Leno. Not a one-off, a regular segment. The talk show host that wasn't Conan O'Brien or David Letterman. The average person will travel 100 miles this Thanksgiving, except the Detroit Lions. They can't travel 10 yards. And then, in the fall of 2001, 3 months after September 11th, when the Taliban was the most referenced subject in American late night, Leno turned to his band leader. "Hey, Kevin, what's the difference between the Detroit Lions and the Taliban?" "The Taliban have a running game." The enemy of the United States was the setup. The Detroit Lions were the punchline. Detroit writer Mitch Albom wrote that the Lions should just lose out and go 0-16, that the record was the only relevance they had left. But Marty Mornhinweg kept telling everyone the streak didn't matter. December 16th, Minnesota. The rookie McMahon plays clean, Corey Schlesinger scores late. Lions 27, Vikings 24. And the Detroit Lions lost their minds. Helmets in the air, a bucket of water dumped on their head coach. The AP said they celebrated like they'd won the Super Bowl. They had just improved to 1-12. 2 days later, defending the celebration, Mornhinweg said something revealing. "I suppose I was surprised, a little bit, on how our players felt about the so-called streak." He was surprised. His players had been humiliated on national television for 3 months, and their head coach had no idea what it was doing to them. But the best part is what Johnny Morton did. Morton, the one good player on that offense, came off the field after finally winning and immediately went after Jay Leno. Not the Vikings, not Millen, Leno. He berated him, quoted as saying, "Jay Leno can kiss my ass." They finished 2-14, but the real damage was 4 months away, in a draft room. Everyone thinks they know this one. Matt Millen fell in love with a quarterback and destroyed a decade of Detroit football. The reporting says the opposite. The Washington Post, the morning after the draft. Millen wanted the cornerback, Quentin Jammer. Mornhinweg wanted the quarterback, and the owner sided with his coach. Jammer's agent, on the record that day, "There's no question the owner intervened. They've got a new stadium, they've got to sell tickets, and that's a lot easier to do with a quarterback than a corner." The most consequential pick in modern Lions history was, per the reporting, a ticket sales decision. Harrington's own agent called 5 minutes before the pick to say Detroit was going another direction. Then the phone rang. "I was shocked. I was caught off guard," Joey Harrington said. Nonetheless, his career as the savior of the Detroit Lions would begin. New stadium, new receivers. Millen paid Az-Zahir Hakim $16 million and let Johnny Morton walk. The one good receiver, gone, replaced by somebody else's third option. September 22nd, Ford Field opens downtown. Joey Harrington's first NFL start in a brand new building, and for about 4 minutes, it's perfect. Hakim takes a punt back 72 yards for the first touchdown the stadium ever sees, and the place comes unglued. Then, Harrington drops back near midfield and throws. The first touchdown pass by a Lions quarterback in their beautiful new home went 78 yards the other way, a pick six for Green Bay. Brett Favre threw for 357, Packers 37, Lions 31. Harrington's rookie year ended at 12 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. The Lions went 3-13. But that's not what Marty Mornhinweg is remembered for. November 24th. Detroit's up 10 in the fourth quarter and gives it away. Overtime, 17-mile-per-hour wind. Detroit wins the coin toss, and Marty Mornhinweg takes the wind. Not the ball, the wind. Chicago gets the kickoff, drives, and kicks the field goal. Detroit never touches it. Bears 20, Lions 17. And the kicker who won it was Paul Edinger, the same man whose field goal in 2000 got Gary Moeller fired and brought Millen and Mornhinweg to Detroit in the first place. Mornhinweg's logic was that nobody had scored into that wind all day. Chicago had its backup quarterback in, And afterward, Ettinger admitted 43 yards was his outer limit. He hit from 40. Maybe Mornhinweg was right. It didn't matter. They lost, and it became one of those iconic, same-old Lions losses fans would discuss for decades. December 31st. Millen announces Mornhinweg is coming back in 2003. January 15th. San Francisco fires Steve Mariucci. January 27th. Millen fires Mornhinweg. 27 days. He left at 5 and 27, 0 and 16 on the road. The worst two-year stretch in franchise history. Asked about the wreckage at his farewell, Mornhinweg, gracious, even cracking jokes the day after being fired, just said, "Well, I'll let you tell that one." And then the saddest line in the story. He'd been asked to tear it down and rebuild with young players, and said, "I find myself unable to finish the job. And really, that is the only disappointing thing." He was fired for not winning fast enough by the man who told him to rebuild. Then Millen went and got Mariucci. He conducted exactly one interview for the job and was later fined $200,000, the first Rooney Rule fine in league history, for not interviewing anyone else. Marty Mornhinweg was hired because Matt Millen wanted Steve Mariucci and couldn't have him. He was fired the moment Mariucci became available. The 0-12, Leno, the bucket, a quarterback his boss didn't want, taking the wind in overtime. All of it happened to a man who was never anything more than a placeholder. Detroit finally got the real thing. Steve Mariucci would enter as the second head coach of the Matt Millen era.